Now, when it comes to the tears for gains, this does happen. So the half of the story that is told, still not, the half of the story that is told is yes, true. If you work your muscles hard enough, the connective tissue that surrounds your muscles will tear. And within a couple of days, you will have scar tissue and those micro tears. That's true. But what is not true is that's going to make your muscles stronger. It's not making your muscles stronger. It's not affecting your muscles. If you go hard enough that you actually tear your muscle fibers, that muscle fiber will die. Because muscle does not regenerate itself. It will die. You will no longer have the strength of whatever that muscle fiber gave you, right? There might be 1,000 muscle fibers in that particular muscle, and now you have one less muscle fiber that's working. So you're actually losing strength and being replaced with scar tissue that does not contract. You don't want that.
I'm going to add to that actually with the scar tissue. I don't know if you were here. If you were here for a fascia talk, we kind of touched on this a little bit too, how with that scar tissue, and we kind of talked about like that scar tissue, how we have those excessive cross links also build up. And so that actually creates a weak spot in the muscle. With that weak spot, because we have no room for weakness in the human body. So that particular muscle or that particular action now has to recruit other muscles that also perform that same action, creating imbalances.
Yeah. So as you, coming back to the creation of that scar tissue, as you tear the connective tissue, right? Just the connective tissue. We'll come back to the muscle in a second, but the connective tissue, if you do micro tears in that, which that should be hopefully all you ever do when you're doing this. Hopefully you don't actually do that either, but the connective tissue will be the first thing that tears. And if you go hard enough and the muscle tears, then we'll get into that stuff. That stuff's awful. But the connective tissue that tears, the fibroblasts are going to show up. They're going to create scar tissue in that region, but that does not make the connective tissue stronger.
No.
Strength doesn't come from more fibers. Strength comes from the correct amount of fibers with the ground substance floating in between, giving it what we call tensile strength. Now, tensile strength means that you have the right amount of collagen, which provides the structure, and elastin, which allows for the stretch and the recoil. Stretch and recoil. Tensile strength allows for all of it. Scar tissue has no elastin fibers in it, and way too many cross links, way too much of the collagen sticking to itself because it doesn't have enough ground substance in there. So that does actually become, even in the connective tissue, a weak spot. Not a stronger spot. It doesn't create more strength. So yes, when you tear your muscles when you're working out, you are creating scar tissue. That is actually true, right? Even if it's micro tears and micro scar tissue. But you are not getting stronger. You are actually causing weakness. If you see physical gain, what you're seeing is the result of inflammation, which means water, lots and lots of water. And all you're actually doing is, in the long run, creating tiny little weak spots all over your muscles, all over the connective tissue that holds your muscles together and is there for support and structure for that muscle, and allowing for that muscle to stretch and to recoil back when it stretches. You're losing range of motion and extensibility because you don't have these wonderful collagen fibers that don't stick all together. Instead, you have a bunch of little areas where the collagen fibers hold. They don't come apart and go back. They don't come apart. They just hold. And now you can't stretch as far as you used to be able to. If it gets into the actual muscle, that's where I'm going to give it over to Cora. And Cora is going to talk on what happens when muscle itself, muscle tissue, gets scar tissue inside of it. Take it away, Cora.